Today, we're going to cover just a little bit about welcome to BIAA, what is Luminary of the Year, setting up your website, first steps to success. We'll hear from Kelly and Allison. Their stories. Allison was a fundraiser for Texas last year, and Kelly pulled me aside at last year's national event and said she was interested in doing it for this year. And then we'll finish up with next steps and questions. So we will move into, most of you probably know a little bit about BIAA already, but knowing that some people may be new to the organization or this is the first time you have us live and in person, we do want to give a little bit of kind of background of, oh, did I just move speakers onto the screen? I now cannot see what I'm sharing. All right, apologies. All right. All right, running through staff really quick who are on the call. Not everybody is a speaker. So we have Dan Davis and Stacy Mulder who introduced themselves. Stefan Strickland is our executive director in Texas. She is new to the organization, so she's on the call, but you won't see her face quite yet. Stephanie, who will be managing questions and answers, myself. Paula Eichelt, who is the Vice President of Community Development and Revenue, also on the call. In the background, and then Laura is helping us make sure this whole thing is ready to go. So also you'll see her as BIAA and the speakers screens. So BIAA is the voice of brain injury. We are here to bring community together and make sure that we are advancing in 6 focus areas. So we focus on prevention. We want to prevent as many brain injuries as possible. Awareness. We want to improve awareness about brain injury. More than 80% of Americans do not realize that a concussion is a brain injury, and many also don't know that a stroke is a brain injury. Research is critical. We want to better understand how the brain works so that rehabilitation can be optimized. Early treatment leads to better outcomes, so we focus on improving access to care and rehabilitation. For survivors to have the best possible care, we need a trained healthcare workforce. That's why we've created education programs at BIAA. And if you are a survivor or if you are a certified brain injury specialist, looking for that in any of your care or being proud of the fact that those letters are behind your name, CBIS, Certified Brain Injury Specialist, is one of our key initiatives and programs here at BIAA. Finally, advocacy. Nationally and locally, funding and legislation for brain injury survivors is limited. We work on national and local policies to help ensure survivors and caregivers receive the support they need. You may have seen on our socials, and I believe that an email has gone out or is coming out, but our TBI Act has passed the House, and that is a key legislative priority for the organization. And during Awareness Month, what we really worked with our legislators and had all those meetings from people all over the country coming in to meet with their Congress people to make sure we got that advance. So it's a big first step, and we're excited to see where that can go. Will go, sorry. All right, Luminary of the Year. So this fundraising champion candidate falls under Luminary of the Year. A few years ago, we realized that Brain Injury Association of America didn't have a singular rally point that brought people together in a fundraising capacity. For some reason, I'm on timing. My things are timed. All right, I might have to go back and forth. I apologize. So we kicked off, Paula, who I mentioned earlier, had the brainchild of Luminary of the Year. Luminary of the Year is our signature awareness and fundraising campaign. It celebrates individuals who choose to use their personal and professional networks to shine a light on brain injury while raising critical funds for our mission. Each of our events, the national event in its 3rd year, Texas in its 2nd year, and Tennessee and Delaware in its 1st year, have selected an honoree from their area, their state, their region, that really represents a history and career of advancing and illuminating a path forward for those living with a brain injury. So Luminary of the Year across the board is somewhat standardized by, it starts at 6 o'clock. We have a cocktail reception, a dinner, an auction, and a Fund the Mission, followed by a dessert reception. So just a general overview, it's cocktail attire. It's a great time to bring everybody together. And when you see that room is entirely full of smiles and laughter, we really are excited about what Luminary has been able to do. As a part of Luminary, in addition to the honoree, we want to bring those individuals together who want to raise funds again to support this event and support BIAA. And that's what the fundraising champion candidates do. As a candidate, you're not just fundraising, you're helping us raise awareness about brain injury, share stories of resilience and hope, educate your community, connect more people to our mission, and expand the impact of our programs and services. This is not about who has the largest network or who has fundraising experience. It's about passion, commitment, and the willingness to invite others to support a cause that matters. Throughout the campaign, we'll provide resources, coaching, communication templates, and ongoing support to help you succeed. Quick overview of who the honorees are in our different markets this year. To make sure that you know, as you are getting involved, you'll hear this name a lot depending on which event you are with. So first one is for the national campaign, which is in DC. We are honoring Dr. Greg Oshanek. For 16 years, he was the inaugural National Medical Director of the Brain Injury Association of America. He was awarded the title of Medical Director Emeritus. A founding board governor of the Academy for Certified Brain Injury Specialists, he sat on the inaugural examination committee for the subspecialty of brain injury medicine, overseen by the American Board of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation and the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology. In Tennessee, we are honoring Dr. Mayor Patel. He's a distinguished surgeon scientist whose work sits at a critical intersection of brain dysfunction and acute illness. He has worked with the Brain Injury Association of America and its Tennessee chapter for over a decade and served on its board of directors from 2011 to 2025. He now serves on the BIAA Tennessee Community Council leadership team. As the division chief of acute care surgery at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, he oversees the delivery of trauma, burn, emergency general surgery, and critical care across an 80,000 square mile region, including those patients sustaining a traumatic brain injury. In Texas, we are honoring Russell Sharon Moody. Russell Moody's life changed in an instant, as a serious automobile accident left him with a traumatic brain injury and left his father, philanthropist Robert Moody Sr., confronting firsthand the profound lack of brain injury rehabilitation resources available to families in crisis. Rather than accepting those limitations, Robert Moody Sr. immersed himself in learning about neurorehabilitation. You would think I would get that word right after the amount of times we say it, and channeling that knowledge into action, establishing what is now Moody Neurorehabilitation Institute, a pioneering post-acute brain rehabilitation center recognized today as a leader in the field. In Delaware, we are recognizing Matt Den, who is a lifelong public servant whose work has been distinguished by dedication to vulnerable Delawareans. Dan, you can always correct me if I don't say that right, including children, seniors, and individuals with disabilities. Matt has a storied career of service to overlooked children and families, including government and philanthropic roles. As co-founder and vice chair of Action for Delaware's Children, Matt fights to remove lead paint from homes of poisoned children, a cause of brain injury that disproportionately affects children living in low-income homes. Matt served as the 25th Lieutenant Governor of Delaware from 2009 to 2015 and the 45th Attorney General of Delaware from 2015 until 2019. He previously served as Delaware's Insurance Commissioner from 2005 to 2009, where he focused on consumer protection and fairness in access to coverage. That was a mouthful. These individuals have done so much to support the brain injury community, and we're excited to be able to recognize all of them. Moving into fundraising champion candidates and how excited we are to have you on board, we want to cover a little bit about what you receive. So you will receive recognition on the campaign website, fundraising toolkits and templates, support from BIAA staff, opportunities to connect with fellow candidates just like today. And in September, we will bring everybody together again, everybody unmiked and on camera, so we can really learn from each other and talk to each other. You'll also receive recognition at the Luminary of the Year celebration of your choice, and there will be special milestone incentives throughout the campaign. Most importantly, though, you'll have the opportunity to create real lasting impact for individuals and families affected by brain injury. Next up, I would love to hand it over to Stacy Mulder, who is our Executive Director in Tennessee. Stacy has worked on fundraising campaigns for Awareness Month and different times throughout the year. So she is an expert in setting up websites and really supporting fundraisers as they get started. So I will hand it over to Stacy Mulder.
Thanks, Kelly. Hi, guys. I'm excited to show you all how to get started. The first step is signing up for the Luminary event of your choice. Your page is where supporters learn why you're participating, where you can share your campaign via text, email, and social media. Visitors to your page can share your campaign with others to help spread the word and get more people to donate. It's also where donations are collected and progress to your fundraising goal is tracked. So when you set up your page, I encourage you to upload a favorite photo, add a personal message about why brain injury awareness matters to you, set an ambitious but achievable fundraising goal. And I know when you set that goal, you might be a little bit worried about it, but you know what? You're going to be surprised at how the money comes in and the support that you're going to receive. And I want you to remember, people give to people. Your story is a powerful fundraising tool, and it's the most important tool you have. So for those of you who do not yet have a fundraising page, here's the process. I want you to go to the Luminary of the Year page for the event of your choice. Remember, you've got DC, Delaware, Tennessee, and Texas. Once on that page, you're going to scroll down to become a fundraising champion candidate button. You're going to click that button and you'll be taken to a page that looks like the blue box on the slide where Kelly's showing right now, where you'll be able to click the Become a Fundraiser button. And Kelly, you might need to advance the slide. And I think we're on to the next one as well. So maybe keep going. There you go. So you can see some of what that looks like. Perfect. Thank you. All right, let's go to the next slide. So by registering, your fundraising page will be created. Then you can customize your page to get it ready to share. So you're going to click on the Story tab to personalize your story and let people know why this cause is important to you and ask them to join you in supporting the Brain Injury Association of America. And you're going to click the Donations tab to view all current donors and past donors if you've done a fundraiser for us before. Then you're going to click on the Emails tab to update the email content for donations and thank yous. And Kelly's showing you what that template looks like. And if you want to update your picture, your headline, your goal, or turn on or off notifications, you'll find all those under the Details tab. And we are all here to support you as you get everything set up. So feel free to reach out to any one of us at any time. And we're going to take questions at the end of today's presentation so we can go into a little bit more detail then on the specifics that you want to know about. Now I'm going to hand it over to my friend and my colleague, Dan Davis, our Executive Director in Delaware, to talk to us about the first steps to success.
Okay, thank you very much, Stacy. And one of the biggest questions that we get is, how do I get started? And but by being here today and being willing to learn about this process, that's a really important first step. So you've already begun. Good news. And I'm already off script, so Kelly's going to start waving her arms pretty soon if I keep going further. The other good news is that you won't be doing any of this alone. We know that we're most successful if we help you be successful as a champion candidate. So we're going to be here with you every step of the way. We have a comprehensive toolkit with messaging, templates, and guidance for every stage of the process to help make your efforts easier and more successful. And if you ever need additional information, support, or coaching, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help no matter where you are on the journey. Um, Here are some practical ways to sort of dive in and to get started. First, make your own gift. Really can't emphasize that enough. That's going to show everybody that you're serious, and it's going to give you an early win and help you start to build momentum. So think about what you can do and go ahead and make that first gift yourself. Second, make a list of everyone that you know, family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, vendors, community leaders, connections on social media. Um, you have a compelling story to tell and a reason that you're here. And all of those people that care about you are interested in hearing about that. So make sure you get all those folks jotted down so you don't forget anybody. Third, identify 5 to 10 people who would likely support you right away. And fourth, tell that story that we've been talking about. Be authentic. You don't need a perfect speech. What matters to people is that they're hearing from you and that it's your story. It doesn't have to sound like it came out of the end of the third act of a Hollywood movie or something like that. It's more important that it's you, because that's what's important to them. Explain why the cause matters to you. And finally, don't wait. Get started now. That way you have plenty of time to achieve whatever goal you set for yourself. Many candidates receive their first donation within days of launching, and it's because they asked. You got to put yourself out there for anybody to want to come and be supportive, right? They have to be able to hear your requests so that they can answer. People don't always donate just because of the cause. It's because of who asked them. Following this call, you'll receive an email with everything you need to get started, including access to your first stage fundraising toolkit, helpful resources like pre-written messaging you can customize, and next steps. Be sure to keep an eye on your inbox and don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions. We're excited to partner with you and look forward to supporting your success.
Thanks, Dan. And I think Dan proved a point where we talk about pre-written messaging and the perfect story. It's all written there, but that doesn't sound like Dan if he was just reading the script. So when we send things out, that's a key thing to remember. These are just starters. It's your story, and make sure you customize it in your voice, and don't always rely just on what's out there. I think I always keep the links and rewrite everything else. So I thank you all for staff for going over these key points of getting started. And I really want to turn now to people who have been with the organization for a while or have done fundraising for us in the past so that you can hear from different angles when you're thinking, what, I don't see myself here, or how do I do this? Hopefully between Allison and Kelly, you can see that you're in this story too. You're in this picture too. So first, I want to introduce Allison Sanborn, who was one of our fundraising champion candidates last year in Texas. Allison's life changed when her father had had a stroke. Allison was signed up and is getting ready again to fundraise this year in Texas as we honor Russell Sharon Moody. Allison, thank you for joining us and sharing your story. I will turn it over to you. I left the prompts on the screen in case it helps at all, but just hearing from you and your words, what got you started and how's it going?
Yeah, thank you. So I first began working or fundraising for the BIAA. I really just wanted to get involved in some kind of brain injury education or awareness. So I just honestly went to the website and did the whole contact me, and that's how I got connected to everyone with the organization. But my personal connection to brain injury, it goes back to 2018, after my dad suffered from a severe traumatic brain injury. Um, he was in a coma for weeks. He was in several different rehab facilities in Houston and Galveston, and we actually ran into some of his therapists at last year's events from the Learning Center in Galveston, which I believe is now the Moody facility. And so even when he came home, he still continued his hard road to recovery. And then this year's fundraiser is extra meaningful to me because my dad actually passed away in March. So being able to fundraise in honor of him is really special this year. Um, so why did I become a fundraising champion candidate? Um, I'm sure people here or those that have suffered from a tragedy all know that it truly feels like you're being thrown into the deep end of the pool and you're just constantly trying to keep your head above water between talking to doctors, therapists, social workers, caregivers, insurance, family, all while juggling life. Sometimes resources kind of get lost in everything. And so I wanted to join BIAA in fundraising because I believe that the work that they do can make a difference for families like mine, whether it be education or awareness. I really wanted to help in serving their mission. So fundraising so far, it's been a little bit different than last year. Last year, I felt like we raised a lot of money in the beginning and then things sort of tapered off toward the end. This year's starting off a little bit slow. I've noticed people are donating smaller amounts or maybe not at all, but that's totally understandable. Um, I'll remind them again in a couple of weeks, but I'm hoping in a few weeks when I share again that there will be more donations coming in. Some advice I would give someone considering becoming a candidate is to know your why, because I think that story really motivates you to fundraise and others to donate. So I would send it to everyone, post it everywhere, to your friends, family, colleagues, honestly, everywhere. And I also tell people that if they can't donate, if they can just share the page. The goal is to just get the message out there and to reach as many people as possible. Um, Also, don't be afraid to feel a little vulnerable. I think people really get drawn to passion and personal connections. And so by sharing your personal story to brain injury, that will really motivate others to donate. Um, and even if you get $5 donations, if 100 people donate, then you've already raised $500. And so, yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised how your story connects with others, even strangers. So as long as you're sharing the message and your page, um, I think that's a win in itself.
Thank you, Allison. And I think couple things that you said in there. One, telling your why. I think in all aspects of my life, one of the first questions I always have when something is sent or I'm reviewing something or my children are asking for money is why. So answering that on the first part of like, why am I doing this? Why is this meaningful to me? That helps them understand why they should support you. And really that ask is asking them to join. So I love the sharing. If you can't donate, please share it so that there's something that there's an action somebody can take and they're still joining you in a cause that's important to you. So thank you for pointing that out. Love it. So, all right. Thank you, Allison. I now want to um, let Kelly Lang tell a little bit of her story. I know when I first met Kelly, we talked for ever and ever and ever because I just loved hearing about her family and how the resilience that came out of a car accident, that this was the 25th anniversary. And Kelly came up to me again the night of last year's event in DC, pulled me aside and was like, this is our 25th anniversary. I want to do something. Let's talk. And from there, I feel like I have loved hearing all the things you are doing with the organization. I definitely loved hearing about these big milestones you have coming up with your daughter. So absolutely love it. All right. Kelly, I will turn it over to you to tell your story.
Thank you, Kelly. And you've been a huge help in this whole venture. Back in November 27th, 2001, I was in a car accident with two of my daughters, the two oldest ones, who were 5 and 3 at the time. And my 3-year-old, who is on the far right of this picture, Olivia, um, she had a traumatic brain injury from the accident. She was code blue at the scene. Um, and so it's a very long story, and I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but so she had a long hospital stay, a long rehab stay, and the whole time I sort of knew something was off with me, but didn't really know. And I had been checked out multiple times and was told that I was fine. But about 2 months after her rehab ended, I was then diagnosed with a brain injury as well from the accident. So it was a double whammy. But in a way, it was a blessing because I could understand just a teeny tiny part of what she was going through. And, I would have switched places with her at any point if I could have, but obviously I couldn't. So my role became as her champion, her advocate, her caretaker, um, as well as my husband and my whole family now. Um, so I've always had the mission to educate others and advocate for brain injury because it's still, after 25 years, it is still so misunderstood. And so I'm glad, you brought up about people not recognizing that a concussion is a brain injury and a stroke is a brain injury because people just still don't understand that. And I feel that we really need to educate and do the outreach. And that's part of why I do all this. Um, I've had a very long relationship with the Brain Association of America and the Brain Injury Association of Virginia. I reached out to both of those organizations when I was at my worst, when I needed resources. Um, and they really helped me. And so I have made it my mission to give back to elevate these organizations and to also educate at the same time. So part of my story is telling others what this means to me. I also have a connection to Toyota because we were driving a Toyota Sienna, or I was driving the Toyota Sienna, and we were told we would not have survived, any of us, if it had not been in a Toyota. So that's why I also talk about the Toyota Way Forward Fund because it's really special to me. And what would I say to someone who thinks they aren't connected? I don't feel like I'm connected enough, but yet it's funny every time I share it, especially on social media, I get more reactions. I get reactions from people, even people who know me really well, who go, "Wow, I didn't know that part of your story." Because I try to share different pieces of it to kind of connect about all the different aspects of brain injury that people really don't understand. They don't understand that it's not a once and done, that it's a chronic condition, and I'm really trying to push that message that this is not, a one and done. And Kelly, you and I have talked about that it is a chronic condition that goes on for a lifetime, and it ebbs and flows like anything, but we need to do more. That's why I do what I do.
Thank you, Kelly. And Kelly also serves on our Survivors Council. So to really give a voice when we're making decisions inside, to make sure that survivors, caregivers, the story of those who BIA serves comes through in everything we do. So, and to Kelly's point about it's not a one and done and it's chronic, I felt that very much last night because we had a storm roll in, and because of my chronic post concussion, it was in bed like googling, am I having a stroke? So that was 13 years ago was my last concussion, so it lasts on and on and on. So it's been 26 years since my first, so it is not a one and done. And that's why we continue to stand here and continue to fight and continue to raise funds and create programs that better the care we can provide and that those who serve the brain injury community can provide. So, so excited again to have all of you here. And I hope that in Kelly and Allison's story that you can see yourself with them. So I know that there weren't points, they probably did not jump on board and think this is going to be amazing, I'm going to raise all the money. That there's a little bit of hesitancy, and to the point that Allison made about being vulnerable and telling your story, it takes a little bit sometimes. And I know that some of our stories have been kind of long and winding. So one of the resources that I will share in that first email and toolkit is our share your story link. And even if you don't want to submit that story, please feel free to submit that story. It does go to our marketing, but if you don't really want to submit it, it does give great prompts to be able to walk through what your story looks like. I know I have a hard time making mine succinct because it started in high school and now I'm almost 50. And that's a long story to try to be like, and then this happened, and then that happened. So it does help. It helped me put my thoughts together and tell my story in a way that didn't feel so convoluted and all over the place. So I will share that link to kind of help if you're struggling really getting that story out. So thank you both. I did want to put up on the screen, I know as you've heard bits and pieces of how this program works, there are still, I'm sure, plenty of questions that you have. I'm going to leave this up, but if you are interested in like, yep, I'm ready to do this, these QR codes will take you to the sign up page for any of the events that you're looking at. So feel free to scan those, sign up, or at least bookmark the page if you want to come back to it. But a reminder, our goal isn't simply to raise dollars. It is also to raise awareness, to build a community and create opportunities for individuals and families affected by brain injury. This, for me, I have felt is a great way in the virtual world we live in this big country we live in, that this can really bring us together and make new friends and new connections. So the champion campaign is, I find it, the part where I can really connect with the most people around me. So if you're ready to join us, feel free to register. And if you're still considering it, that is okay too. We'd love to answer any of your questions and help determine whether this is the right opportunity for you. If it is not, there are plenty of other ways to get involved with the IAA, and I encourage you to keep digging around, poking around, asking us questions to make sure that we can provide for you something that's meaningful. So now I would love to ask Stephanie Cohen to see if we have any questions and answers in between all of us here with, I call it speaking capabilities, only because we have the presenter link. We'll be happy to answer any of those questions. Stephanie.
Yeah, so no questions yet, but if anyone has anything, please go ahead. If you don't know where it is should be at the bottom of some options. There should be one that you see as a question mark. It says Q&A. That's how you access that.
Maybe we all did such a phenomenal job. We answered every possible question someone can have. I always love it when that happens. Well done, team.
Kelly, I have some things to add just while people are thinking about questions they might want to put in there. In my experience, when I've done fundraising on social media, you want to post once or twice a week, and you want to alternate what you post, from posting your link and telling people why you're fundraising to sharing important content that gets them connected to understand what we do as an organization, and also engaging questions. How many people know somebody with a brain injury, and ask them to respond, not giving names or anything like that, but get them engaged. That improves the algorithm and how your posts show up. So post regularly. Don't get discouraged if someone doesn't donate right away. People need to see it frequently. The same thing when you send text messages out. If you send text message out once and they don't respond, generally people need to see it 3 to 7 times to respond. It's not that they don't want to give to you. It's they get busy and they're like, oh, I can do that later. The event's a ways out. I can wait. So keep reminding them those friendly touch points and why it's important to you. So consistency in posting and consistency in asking, and don't be afraid to do it multiple times. It's my tidbits.
We do have a question about how the donations are going to be used, how the funds that we raise helps survivors, and how the money that they raise for us, how we're going to be able to be using that to help the brain injury community.
Absolutely. And in that first email, I'm actually going to send the impact report from the last year, as well as a link to all of our impact reports. It is a 27-page document that I do not want to go into all of it right now. And I say 27, it might be longer, it might be shorter. That's just a good number I pulled out of the air. But it does support our key areas. So it will support the building and the expansion. So the certified brain injury specialist. So there are so many ideas on that program team of where can we go next? How can we make sure that school nurses, the first responders, that there are the families that just need access to kind of fundamentals. So I know after my concussions turned into kind of that post-concussive, chronic post-concussive stage, my family had no idea what to do or what I was going through, and you can't explain it. You're struggling enough with it yourself. So things like fundamentals for families is really helpful. And I know when that came out, I sent it to my family to be like, this, I hope that this can kind of put words to something that I cannot tell you. I can't really make you understand. It feels like my brain melts was the best I could come up with. So ways of supporting really the holistic community, whether it's families, survivors. Survivors are always at the center, right? We wouldn't be training our occupational therapists, our speech therapists, the whole care community and rehabilitation, and making sure that if something happens at school, that school nurses know how to understand what to look for, when to seek care, things like that. So the programs team is constantly building with more ways to support not the survivor specifically, or as well as the survivors specifically, but those around, so that brain injury is known and seen. We do advocacy. So when I talked earlier about the TBI Act passing the House, this is a phenomenal legislation that lapsed, that was Greg Oshanik and our honoree last year, Mark Ashley, were really key in writing that to make sure things that not only is TBI seen as a condition, but then that goes a little bit deeper with some of the work that's been done to make sure that rehabilitation services are covered. Same thing we do in states. We make sure that we're training state advocates, that they can go to state legislative branches. To every state has different requirements on what insurance is required to cover. So we've had some big wins in Tennessee and in Texas. And that comes from the ability to train advocates to feel comfortable going in there and making those, having those discussions with those that are voting for things. So I will send the whole impact report. It does cover how many webinars have been released. Those are always free for families, survivors. So any of our webinars you can view to learn more about lots of different areas. So creating that content, making sure that we have staff who are knowledgeable, capable, and sourcing experts to make sure we're giving the best possible information. I could talk all day about this. I'm going to stop. There's a fine document that puts it all together with exactly how many people and then what our future plans are. So right now we are in the process of creating our strategic plan for the next 3 years, which also will coming shortly. I have no visibility into it, but making sure that we have the funding to create these audacious goals that our Survivors Council, our board, and our leadership team are putting together to make sure we are really elevating and escalating all issues around brain injury in the brain injury community. It was a very long answer. And
Yeah,
Stacey's raised her hand if you want to
and I
add to
would
it.
just, yep, absolutely. I would just add that if you're fundraising in Tennessee, Texas, Delaware, or in DC, the money you're raising staying in the state where you're raising it, to make sure that we have programs and services and support for people living in that state. For example, in Tennessee, we have service coordinators statewide. 3 of those are housed with the Brain Injury Association of America. And we also have our National Brain Injury Information Center. These are places is where survivors and caregivers and even healthcare providers can go to find out information, to have care navigation. That's our really critical source because we get so many calls and emails about what do I do now? And it's even for somebody who's newly experiencing a brain injury up to 15 years post brain injury when things are changing and they now need different assistance. So they reach out. So we're really glad to be the location where they come to for that information.
And that actually leads to the next question, perfectly, Stacey. There's a question about how people decide or determine which event to sign up for, especially if they don't live in one of these 3 states. How do they decide?
Absolutely. So the national event is, I don't mean to call it a catch-all. That feels like a weird term, but it is in terms of if you are not close to. First step, where do you want to visit? So if you do qualify to attend the event, to bring a whole table, which one do you want to go to? So Tennessee is in Nashville, Texas is in Houston, and Delaware is in Newark, Delaware. The DC event does have people from all over the country as sponsors. Last year, we don't think Danielle can make it this year, but someone who did a gala as their champion campaign in Iowa was able to come. So I would probably say, where do I want to go visit, or where is the most easy access for me to be able to visit? But the national event is also, you are not alone if you are coming from outside of DC. The majority of people are coming from outside of DC.
I hear what Kelly is saying, Kristen, but Delaware is really beautiful in October, and we always have a place for you in the first state. So if anybody here wants to go ahead and sign up to support the Delaware event, you're welcome. We'll have you. We'll take you.
Same with Tennessee. The best weather of the year is October, and we have an inside-outside venue, so it'll be lovely.
All right. So it seems like if you're not sure, you could have some staff members here trying to woo you to their.
And I will speak since we have Stefan is on, but can't necessarily speak up. I will speak on behalf of Texas. We were all there last year. It is a beautiful venue. The hotel that we stayed at was so much fun. Beautiful historic area. So Texas is also great. By October, it starts cooling down a little bit. The humidity dies a little bit. So Texas is also a beautiful place to visit.
We do have another question. It might be a little specific, so if you need to follow up with this person, then we can. But we have a question about specifically youth sports and what we're doing about youth sports. I'm guessing with concussion or just prevention. Unless off the top of your head, you guys know specifically anything about that, then otherwise, I'm thinking we might want to send some information after the call. But
Can I get one?
Go ahead.
Can I give one just Delaware specific example that I think probably applies in some other states too? And then we can always, of course, follow up as well. So in Delaware, we have laws on the books intended to help minimize the occurrence of concussion in youth sports. So you got that prevention there, and to help coaches and parents know how to respond if a concussion possibly occurs during youth sports. But in our state, those laws aren't particularly well enforced. So when we raise money in Delaware and we get support, we're able to do outreach and educate parents that, hey, there are some rules about how they're supposed to treat your child to help them avoid incurring a concussion. And educate coaches and even educate venues about, hey, there's a way that the teams are supposed to play when they play at your venue, and you might be exposing yourself to liability if you aren't aware of what these concussion prevention laws are in our state. So raising support, raising awareness helps us put a spotlight on that kind of angle of youth sports as it relates to brain injury.
Yes,
Thanks,
in
Dan.
Tennessee, we have something called Tennessee Safe Stars, which is a protocol for safety around youth sports for concussions and heart. And We work with the schools directly to make sure that they have that information, multiple levels for them to be involved, but really it's education about concussions. And then also on our website, I just want to put it in the chat and point everybody to there. There are return to play, return to activity protocols that we have on our national site. So I don't know if I put it in the chat if everybody can access it or not, but that is there. And there's lots of information about concussions, and we even have a kids brain health program on our website as well, and I'll get the link and drop that in the chat.
Absolutely. And we will send more information out about that, but know that we partner with the Association of Athletic Trainers and many different organizations to make sure that this is an area and topic that is covered. I know the Toyota Way Forward Fund has portions that go into not necessarily youth sports, but youth in general. And I say this as a parent of two kids who luckily only got one concussion in football, but also working really around youth in general. So it's not just sports. There are lots of falls on playgrounds, falls in general. So making sure that youth and pediatric care is a focus of ours as well.
All right. And we had a question, I think that kind of ties back to maybe a little bit of what we talked earlier about how this can also be a good way to share your personal story, and how this can tie into that. So if we can kind of go, in addition to this being obviously fundraising and all the things that we can only accomplish because of these funds, but also how this could be a really good platform for people to share their brain injury journey and how that can maybe help them with that process.
Okay. Can you say the question again?
Oh, so there, the question is that someone mentioned they're beginning their advocacy journey with their own brain injury journey, and is this a good place and a good way to spread the word and share their journey?
I believe yes. I will say, so I would probably point to Allison, not necessarily from the survivor standpoint, but like in the sharing story, the story of her journey with her dad. Allison, do you want to answer that a little bit? Is this a good place to start in sharing your story?
I think so. I mean, for me, like my dad's brain injury happened in 2018, and I think we never, because it was just a crazy time, as I'm sure a lot of people with brain injuries can and their families can relate to. And so it's kind of there's never really a perfect time on your own to share, hey, this happened to me, or hey, this happened to my dad. So I think going along with the event kind of gives you a spot to share what happened, and how either you've survived, or how you or your family member has become, is like, resilient, and all of those. So I do think that it's a good place to share, and then at the same time raise some money for a good cause.
Thank you. Kelly, I would love to ask you, from someone who you have shared your story in a lot of different ways. And I love every time I've seen how it was shared, whether it was a story on our website, your website. What are your thoughts? Kind of, is this a place to start?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people who share their stories will say how cathartic it is that they're able to share this horrific thing that happened to them or their family member, and just even the process of writing it down in a way to educate someone else. And my thought has always been, if I'm helping one person with that portion of my story, then I'm successful. Because I think that at least one person will learn something new about brain injury and the journey, and that they're not alone, because um, it's very isolating when it first happens, because you don't think anyone understands, and a lot of people don't understand. And so, you're constantly trying to, educate them. But when you educate in a larger sense, I felt it's always been very cathartic, no matter what portion of the story I share. I try to tie it into something else going on, to try to make it more relevant to because it's things that could have happened 20 years ago, but it's still relevant to what's going on today and with someone else's journey, and hopefully it'll be a touch point for them.
Thank you. Yeah, I think to the point of sometimes you need that catalyst, right? And
Yep.
potentially this is that catalyst to start sharing. It's when you're kind of out in space and trying to figure out when, this at least is like, okay, now it gives you that guiding star.
So that looks like it's all of our questions. If you can maybe just quickly remind people what next is, like what we're sending them next, what resources, like what the next thing is, so that they know what to be looking for in their email.
Probably, I will say later today, all of you will receive an email that will have those first next steps. So we do not want to send you, is there an entire toolkit? Yes, you can find the entire toolkit on any of these websites when you go to sign up, but we want to break that into kind of bite-sized pieces for you. So this first email will be things that we talked about today and links that we will share with you, but also very first steps. Sign up here, walk through these steps, share the post. So it'll be much, much smaller, much more bite-sized pieces. So you'll get that probably this afternoon, though holding me to this afternoon maybe is a good thing, maybe not. We'll get that out to you. And then after that, we will be reaching out, particularly if you're in any of the states, you'll be hearing from those executive directors. If you're doing the national event, you'll be hearing from me. We'll be reaching out all the time just to make sure if you need anything, you know we're here. Then about every few weeks, you'll receive a next bite-sized piece of, okay, we've got the website set up, you've shared your first social, try this next with new verbiage that you can customize and make your own. So from here on out, you are with us and we've got you. So whatever you need, we will get to you. But next steps, you will get an email with all of those very first steps, hopefully not an overwhelming amount of information. But then the second part of that email will be any links that we said we would share today from Dan and Stacy and the team. So we will get those out. I think then hopefully I said everything. Does anybody else have any last things they want to share here?
The only thing I was going to share is the links are not going to the group, so we'll include the links that I mentioned earlier in the outreach afterwards. My apologies, I can't seem to get them into the bigger chat.
That's okay. We'll make sure they're in that email. All right. If no one has any last words, we will wrap here. We are so grateful that you are considering joining us with these events. We want to thank Kelly and Allison for sharing their story and being vulnerable and helping us see ourselves in all of this going on. And thank Dan and Stacy for not only being great salespeople for their states, but helping walk us through what everything looks like. And Stephanie, thank you for moderating questions and answers. And as always, thank you, Laura, for making sure this came off as seamless technology-wise as it could be. I'm not great, but you are. So thank you for making sure this looked really, really great. Thank you all. Feel free to reach out at any time and look for that email coming out with, where do we start?